Assalamu alaikum. Welcome to our studio and Iulia Sandu. You can tell more about what you do and your mission.
Assalamu alaikum. It's very wonderful to be with you here today. My name is Iulia Sandu and I'm the Private Enterprise Officer and Acting Director of our Office of Economic Growth and Environment at USAID in Uzbekistan.
Thank you very much. And I have some questions, again, it's about ecology. Yes, I know you oversee other spheres, but here we today talk about environmental problems. But basically this summer, an unprecedented heat wave hit hard the Central Asian region and Uzbekistan, and we have some local arable farmers who struggled with their crops, drought, all these things. And what do you think, is there any solution so we can work together and resolve these issues?
So I feel like the farmers in Uzbekistan are on the front line of the climate crisis. And we've seen the heat waves this summer and the impact it has on the environment. And by seeing that, we can state that climate change is here and it's happening now. We know that heat waves are going to grow in length and intensity in the next few years. And we also know that in Central Asia, water is a very important resource. And we've seen, because of rising temperature, how the rainfall patterns are changing, how the glaciers stopped forming, and that really has a high impact on the farmers' work. At USAID, we are developing new activities, and we have in place one activity that works on integrated water management in the region and in Uzbekistan, with a focus on addressing the environmental impacts in the Sirdarya and Amudarya river basins. We're also working to address the nexus between water, food, and energy. And by addressing this nexus, we are hoping to improve food and health security in Uzbekistan. Just to give you an example, we've been working with the government of Uzbekistan and government of Kyrgyzstan on forming a small basin council in the Padshata river basin. It's a form of local governance. It's a local governance body that looks at trying to solve climate issues that impact regions living at the border between the two countries. Water here, it's a transboundary issue, and there needs to be a dialogue between the upstream countries and downstream countries. And that's why USAID is trying to facilitate this dialogue. And it's very important, just to give you another example, the Padshata River is the only water source for about 18,000 hectares of irrigated land in Namangan. Without this dialogue, their irrigation and farming would not be possible in that region.
We hope so. Well, my next question about this very not pleasant forecast. State meteorologists have been warning that climate change might have a calamitous impact on the economy of Uzbekistan, like lack of precipitation and snow. How does the USAID tackle this problem amid wildfires that we experienced and you experienced in the US? Do you think that is there any possible way to mitigate and overcome this wildfire recently that happened in the West Coast?
Yes, so climate change is having big impacts right now around the globe, in Uzbekistan and in the United States. And the impact that we're seeing nowadays, it's only going to increase in the next few decades. So we need to act, and we need to act now. In the United States, I would like to mention that this month, the Biden administration passed an Inflation Reduction Act, which includes a climate investment package of about $430 billion to address and try to reduce carbon emissions in the United States. And we're very excited to see how the funds are going to be spent and see the impact on the ground. And as you said, the United States has been having the same heat waves as here. And for example, about 20% of the land in western United States is under extreme drought condition. Also, Lake Mead, which is one of the biggest reservoirs in the United States, is at its lowest levels. The Colorado River is drying out in some parts. So we are seeing that as you are seeing the situation in the Aral Sea region, and we're trying to address it. And many of the solutions that we found are solutions that we use overseas in our development work. For example, just integrated water management approaches, saving water, storing water, recycling water, conserving water.
Yes.
We're looking at energy efficiency, at clean energy. We're looking at nature-based solution, afforestation. We're also looking at supporting research and educational institutions that work in this field, and NGOs as well. It is important to educate the population and highlight, what everybody can do every day to address the impact of climate change. And it's going to be a long-term effort. It's not going to be easy, but we're confident that by pooling resources together and expertise, we'll be able to succeed.
Thank you very much. So Iulia, it's good that you mentioned the role of NGOs and civic society. What can you say more about them?
NGOs and civil society in general play a key role in addressing climate change. They are able to raise awareness and reach out to the most vulnerable segments of the population, like women and youth. They are able to bring them into the conversation. And we are at USAID fully supporting NGOs as a key stakeholder in this dialogue. We see NGOs not only as promoters of cooperation at different levels with the government and with the private sector, but also as a key player in finding solutions, catalyzing knowledge, bringing in youth and women, and promoting ownership at every level of the society when it comes to climate change.
Very good, very good. Well, Uzbek president has signed several decrees recently in terms of the renewable energy sources and the implementation. We can see some regions like Fergana have already started the implementation of those solar panels. Yet, I think not every household can afford them. Can USAID provide any kind of funds to relieve the burden on the Uzbek society?
At USAID, we have a regional activity called Power Central Asia. It's a $40 million activity which works on creating a regional electricity market that would include renewable energy along with the traditional sources of energy. We are looking into adding energy efficiency and renewable energy into the energy planning of the countries in Central Asia, and also engaging with the private sector to bring in new technology, more accessible technology to the region. We are using an integrated approach, and we are trying through our program to engage with different segments of the society and with the government to make sure that we can scale up small renewable energy projects and make it more affordable for the general population. It's actually very nice that you asked me this question today, because we just had a recent meeting with the Ministry of Energy, and we proposed to them a rooftop solar project that will initiate soon, and we're looking at adding up to a system that has up to 100 kilowatts of electricity generation capacity on different public buildings that the ministry will select. And I think we can use the lessons from that project, and we will also analyze the much needed regulatory and legislative reform to allow for these projects to be successful, to allow for them to scale, and to allow them to become more accessible to the general population in Uzbekistan.
It's good that the government is also engaged in those kind of projects like renewable energy. Then my last question is about, well, transboundary waters in Central Asia. It's very problematic. It's always on the top agenda between the leaders of CA. I mean, the Amu Darya and Sirdarya river basins, they play an important role in the agricultural sector of all the countries here. For example, it accounts up to 28% of GDP and employing about 27% of active population in Uzbekistan. But the Central Asian states cannot boast a perfect water management like in other countries. Why do you think it is?
It is very difficult, and it's a problem that exists all over the world when you deal with transboundary water resources. Water is a limited resource, and there are different countries that have different interests in getting as much water as they need for their population, and it's actually really, really hard to develop a functioning transboundary water management policy that's really satisfies the communities, the government, the need for food.
Correct.
And at USAID, we actually have an activity which is called WAVE. It's Water and Vulnerable Environment Activity, a $25 million activity that works in Central Asia to address this exact issue. And we're doing this by providing training to specialists, by strengthening educational institutions, by working at national government level to promote initiative for better transboundary water management. As I mentioned earlier,
Yes.
the Small Basin Council, which have proven to be very effective in managing at community level water issues. And we're also engaging with different stakeholders to advance this type of initiatives, to promote kind of listening sessions, and it just get people involved into finding solutions at every level. I think these are the best practices
Correct.
that we could develop, and we are hopeful. You know, we're gonna be able to succeed, but cognizant that it's a negotiation, everlasting negotiation between the governments in Central Asia. And with that, I would like to conclude by highlighting the fact that the climate change is really a global crisis.
Indeed.
And as you mentioned, the heat waves at the beginning of our discussions, we're seeing other impacts like wildfires,
Yes.
floods,
Droughts
that really upend the way we live and we are used to live our lives.
Exactly.
And this has a very big impact on the development progress that we're able to achieve and that USAID contributed to. So we are very committed to work with governments, partner governments as Uzbekistan to address climate issue. It is an unprecedented crisis, and we need to pool efforts and expertise and work at this together.
I hope your words will prophesize and come true when we as a civil society, media and government bodies work together to tackle all those climate change and environmental problems. Absolutely.
All the stakeholders need to get involved and address this. It's not one person or one entity or one government that's gonna be able to to address these issues that we're facing today. And just taking advantage that I'm here with you today, I wanted to let your viewers know that we are organizing an event, the Sirdarya River celebration with the Ministry of Water Resources in Namangan on November 9th. And we are very excited about this event. We're going to have drawing competition, river cleanups, and other activities. And I think this will be a great opportunity for us to raise awareness on the importance of conserving water, storing water, and taking care of our environment.
Thank you very much for your interview, and I hope to see more progress and success in your future missions.
Thank you. Thank you for having me here today.
Thank you.